Doctors, are you taking control of what's walking into your office? Hi, everybody. Welcome to the KC CHIROpulse Podcast, brought to you by CATS Consultants and Chiro Health USA. I'm Dr. Michael Perusich, and of course, I've got my friend and co-host here, Dr. Troy Fox. Troy, all these things that walk into our practices, are we paying attention? Are we taking control? Or are we just laying over and doing what the patient thinks we should do?
Okay, so I got overrode on the title of this, folks, because I was going to ask if you're all a bunch of wusses and needed our help. But I'm going to tell you a little story. And then we're going to talk this over. So this happened to me in my practice just yesterday before we recorded this. Patient walks into my practice, has a rib out of place, needs said rib popped back in place, comes in, sits down. I look through their intake. They've got no less three autoimmune disease processes going on. Drink 10 plus drinks a day, smokes, not heavily, but smokes. All right. Mm-hmm. Not the healthiest of individuals, 50-year-old female, also on birth control. We'll just throw that one in there. That reminds you of taking boards, right? 50-year-old female, overweight, on birth control. Smoker. If you was slightly overweight, smoker.
Stroke.
And she's got three. Yeah. And she's got 3 autoimmune disease problems. So she walks in, sits down. I come in. How you doing? I'm Dr. Fox. Nice to meet you. I've taken a look at your intake. And the first thing I'd really like to start with is talk about some of the autoimmune processes you have going on, how long they've been going. And she sticks her hand straight out in front of her and puts it in my face and basically says, I'm not here for you to look at my other problems. I want you to pop my rib back in place. And I said, you know what? They put a doctor in front of my name for a reason. I'm not a chiropractic technician. I'm a doctor of chiropractic. And your comorbidities are numerous. And we need to talk through these because they tie directly into your condition. And I pretty much got after it with her. And she said, all right, I'm listening. And we went through with the thing. The other thing that I could have said is, hey, if you're not interested in talking about this, just may be the wrong office for you because we're very thorough when we work with patients. And if you don't want to divulge information about this, even though you've already written it on your intake, we can find another office for you to go to. I'll find you a pop and go clinic.
Yeah. So that's called doctor authority.
Yeah.
And you got to have that authority with people. And you and I both could come up with a whole catalog of these kind of patients that have walked into our practices. I remember one patient came in one time. I hadn't seen her in 6 months, and she comes barging in a little more, she's a gruff lady, but a little more gruff than usual, agitated, and says, I'm having a headache. I need to get adjusted. And I said, I haven't seen you in 6 months. We're doing an exam. And she said, I don't want to do an exam. She wound up leaving without us doing any kind of treatment. And I found out the next day she had a stroke that night.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonder why she was having that headache, right?
Yeah. So if I'd have just laid her down on the table and adjusted her neck to help her with her headache, I'm using air quotes if you're just listening, would I have caused a stroke? Probably not. But if she was already having one and that's why she was having the headache, who'd have gotten blamed?
Yeah.
So you got all this stuff walking into your practice. You got to be paying attention.
Right.
You got to use your authority. And it's two things. Are you uncovering conditions that could be contraindicated to an adjustment like a stroke? Are you uncovering things that patients really need to have addressed because your job is to provide them with the best care plan, not just a care plan?
Yeah. In my case, we ended up referring to a naturopath for some of the care and talking about why chiropractic care would take longer because your healing patterns are very slow right now with all the autoimmune and the inflammatory processes. So that's very good. I will tell you, it never pays the passenger grab the wheel when you're driving the car.
That's a good way to put it.
And that's what patients do. They try to grab the wheel. And here's why. Sorry, guys, as a group, we're not as well respected as we should be. People don't walk into a surgeon's office and tell them how to do a surgery. People don't walk into their general practitioner's office. They do more than they used to. Sometimes they get after them now. And they're like, why are you not telling me? Why did you not tell me that I needed to take CoQ10 if I'm taking a statin drug? I've had patients do that to their medical doctors after I've told them it's a non-starter for me. If you don't want to take CoQ10, I don't want to work with you.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? And I'm like, Yeah, because I have no idea some of the aches and pains you have are basically because your heart's not squeezing it at the rate it should. So sometimes I do non-starter items and they'll go back but they will go sometimes to GP. That never used to happen. But people will readily come into their chiropractor and let them know how much BS that exam is they're getting ready to do is,
Mhm.
even though they're getting ready to have a stroke or an aneurysm, how our prices are too high or whatever. I haven't heard that in a while, but you hear people, if you get involved in pricing while you're in the adjustment room, you're going to have people dicker over price in the adjustment room. I just laugh at
Yeah.
them. I go, I don't know what the prices are.
I don't know
I
the
don't set them.
prices.
Yeah. I don't set it.
Yeah.
I just work here. They're like, isn't your name on the outside? And I go, yeah. I go, you see those girls up front? They don't let me be in charge. I just work here. So
Right.
I get the pricing thing out of the way, but we get questioned a lot. And we also get the question that everybody hates. What exercises should I do? My first response, 90% of people that ask me that question will never lift a finger to do one exercise. It
Mhm.
seems a little counterintuitive at this point to give you exercises. I say that, and the reason I do it is because I'm going to use my authority at that point. And if they say I'll do them, great, because the program that we have, I will custom build you a program. It will send to your email or your phone, and it's going to track your progress and send it back to me. That's 25 a week. And that's the only time I ever really get involved in finances, to let them know I'm going to track you and you're going to pay for it.
Yeah, you got to stay out of that conversation. We got to take a quick break, but we'll be right back. We're talking about not letting patients take the wheel. I love that. We'll be right
Yep.
back.
In today's economy, every dollar counts. Families are facing tough choices, having to reconsider what was once essential to them. But when it comes to healthcare, no one should have to compromise on their well-being because of financial constraints. That's where Cower Health USA steps in, the solution for your practice. We understand the financial pressures families are under, whether they're insured, on Medicare, or paying out of pocket for treatment. By offering discounts on care, you can ensure that your patients can still afford the treatment they need. At Cower Health USA, we're committed to making sure no family has to sacrifice their health due to financial hardship. We'll work with you to create a game plan that keeps your waiting room full and your practice thriving. And here's the best part. Offering affordable care not only benefits your patients, but also positively impacts your bottom line. So why wait? Join Cower Health USA today and join the ranks of the most successful practices. Because when you put your patients first, everyone wins.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the KC CHIROpulse Podcast. We're talking about taking control of your patients and their care and guiding them for what they need, not just necessarily what they want. Because sometimes if we just do what they want, we might be causing more harm. We might not be giving them the opportunity to respect what we do in the right way. And again, we can come up with all kinds of conditions, but I remember another patient that came in and he was having low back pain, and he'd been to several other doctors, medical doctors. He'd been to the hospital. He'd been to several other chiropractors, and his symptomatology just seemed weird. And he had some comorbidities like being overweight, and he was in his early 70s and low back pain. What do you do when you got comorbidities and you've got red flags? You take x-rays. So I took x-rays of the guy. He had this huge abdominal aneurysm, huge. So I called the surgeon down the street and said, I've got a huge abdominal aneurysm here. He said, send him right on over. I'll take a quick peek, send the films with him. Great. It was back when we actually did plain film. I'm telling you, it was so bad that when I got home that night, the surgeon lived in my neighborhood. He came by, knocked on my door, said, hey, you got a beer in the fridge? We need to talk for a minute. He had scheduled this guy for surgery first thing the next morning. It was so bad. But had I just started adjusting the guy and that aneurysm would have blown, whose fault is that? It's my fault, not only from a medical legal standpoint, but I didn't do the right thing for the patient. So we have to use our diagnostic capabilities. We have to use our intuition. We have to be the doctor, and we have to use our authority to lead patients to what they really need. And if patients don't want to accept that, maybe you need to consider not accepting them into care.
That's a tough decision to make. And I know sometimes when you're newer in practice, it's really hard to do.
Yeah,
You know
you
what?
want
You have
everybody.
extra. Yeah, you got extra time at that point. Make sure that you're doing all the right things. Make sure that your procedure for that patient matches what you know to be the correct thing to do early, and you'll still follow it 30 years later. Because
Yep.
here I am 30 years in, and I'm about as abrupt with people as I've ever been because I don't put up with that. And here's why I don't.
You're old
I'm
and
not
tawdry.
I am 100%, that almost 1,000%. Here's what I worry about. And folks, you should worry about this too. And I know you guys got this situation. One, I worry about my wife. I worry about my kids. I worry about my legacy.
Yep.
Is it worth one adjustment that I didn't do the right thing? I worry about my staff and their families who depend on me and trust me to do the right thing and have such faith in my abilities as a doctor that
Yep.
they unwaveringly defend me out in the public.
Yep.
How about I do something that is unconscionable, something that you cannot defend? I roll a patient into side posture with a monster abdominal aorta when they've got all the symptoms. They tell me they've got tearing pain. I even write it in my notes. He has tearing pain in the abdominal region. And then I go in and I do the $1 million roll. You guys, some of you older guys know what the $1 million roll is. I do the $1 million roll. And guess what?
Haven't
It
heard that
costs
one.
me my career. It costs me my livelihood. It costs my reputation and my legacy. Done because I didn't shoot x-rays.
I'm going to put that whole concept in really simple terms. Who do you think is going to refer the most patients to you? The patient that you did a great job but maybe never treated, but pointed out some health conditions that they really needed to get under control, and you referred them out. Or patient that you weren't thorough with, you didn't use your doctor authority, and you hurt them. Who's going to refer you more patients? It's not real hard to figure out. That guy that had the abdominal aneurysm that I mentioned earlier, he referred me like 20 patients. I never treated the guy. I just diagnosed him and referred him. But he was so thankful that he referred all kinds of people, all of his friends in.
He also saw you as an RD, right? He saw you as a real doctor because you did real doctor SHIT. Sorry, but it's true. You really did real there. We do. You really did real doctor stuff. You were a gangster, right? And you did what you were supposed to do rather than pulling the meek thing that I see a lot of people do. And you don't assert yourself. You don't use doctor authority and you don't work your way out of the situation. All you do is make yourself look the fool. And they tell their friends, hey, you can go into this guy and he'll just pop your back one time, or she'll pop your back one time and then let you do whatever you want. They like it. Heck yeah. The press off of that is incredible. Oh yeah, this is the doctor that'll let us do whatever we want to do.
Right.
The long term on that is horrible.
It's terrible.
Horrible for your practice longevity and bad for your patients.
I remember another patient. He and his construction crew were working on a really tall 3-story barn. So if you live in the dairy world, you see these big 3-story barns all the time. So they're working on the roof of this 3-story barn. He decides to slide off and lands on his back from 3 stories up, just flat on his back. They call the office. We're bringing him in. He needs an adjustment. Now, common sense, everybody, right? He just slid off a 3-story roof. So we tell him, no, go to the emergency room. Guess where they showed up? They showed up in my parking lot. He really wants to see you first. He really wants to see if you can do anything first. I walk out to this van. They open the back doors of the van. They've got this guy laying on his back on a piece of plywood. And I just looked at him and I said, okay, you just slid off a 3-story roof and you can't feel your legs and the pain in your back is starting to subside. Go to the emergency room. Okay, doc, I will. I just didn't want to go unless you actually saw me. So I don't know if he really thought I was going to adjust him and make everything go away, or if he just wanted to make sure he got my physical opinion. But that's the kind of authority you got to have. Yeah.
Is that too much doctor authority right there where the guy shows up on a piece of plywood in the back of a van?
Yeah, and it's a true story. You got to hear Marissa tell it. It's even funnier.
Here's the deal. if you did this upright, next thing you know, when you make it into a feature film, you got Brad Pitt laying in the back of the van, the plywood, and you get to be George Clooney. George has a little more hair than you, but he could come out because he's played doctors before, so we'll let him do it. He comes out that is serious authority right there. But you know what that is? Serious loyalty to the fact that you've always given good information. That's why, and
Why?
you develop that over time. I can tell you, folks, I took over the practice I'm in 2 years ago, and did patients trust me? Not a bit.
Sure.
When I walked in, I was the outsider. I didn't live in this town. I didn't know what I was talking. 2
Sure.
years later, I got people coming to me, hey, before I go to my medical doctor, when you hear that, you know that you've got authority at that point. You
Right.
know that you're headed in the right direction, and you're going to win every time with that attitude.
Every time. And you guys out there, you hear us talk about this all the time. You got to build trusted relationships. It's not just relationships. It's not just trust. It's trusted relationships. And you do it by being, would you call it an RD, a real doctor?
That's right.
By using your diagnostic skills. I firmly believe that us as chiropractors, we have some of the best diagnostic skills when it comes to the musculoskeletal system. We need to use that. We need to show people that we really know what we're doing. And when you do, you build that doctor authority people. But here's the best part of it. Okay. This is a practice building tip. Hang on. We got to take a break. We're going to do the practice building tip when we come back. So we're talking about taking control of patient cases, not letting patients grab the wheel. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
Pat's Chiropractic Consultants, your partner in chiropractic success. We are dedicated with one-on-one guidance to bring you all your practice management needs. Let's supercharge your practice. Give us a call today.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the KC CHIROpulse Podcast. I almost forgot where we are. Welcome back to the KC CHIROpulse Podcast. We're talking about building your doctor authority and making sure that you're managing cases well. And here's my practice tip. When you do a thorough history, a thorough evaluation, and you really put on your diagnostic thinking cap and you start thinking real broad and real deep, here's the cool thing about it. You're going to come up with a treatment plan that is pretty significant. You're going to come up with a whole lot of reasons to be able to treat that patient for quite a while. Now, I'm not saying you're doing that because you're just trying to drive revenue. I'm saying you're doing that because you've uncovered a lot of health issues that the patient really needs not only help with, but they need to be aware of. And you're going to become their health advisor, their real health doctor, RHD.
There you go.
And you're going to become that trusted partner in their health journey, their chiropractic journey. And they're not only going to understand what you do, but those are the patients who stay, pay, believe in what you do. Those are the ones who refer other people in. Those are the ones who refer everybody they know. Those are the ones who almost on bended knee will do whatever you tell them to do because they trust that you're telling them the right thing. And the practice building part of that is not the revenue generation as much as it is. You don't have to generate new patients after that. They just show up at the door, and it's crazy. For 20 years, just about, I didn't even advertise for new patients. We built that trusted authority in our community.
Yeah, I'm going on 2
Thing.
years. Yeah, I'm going on 2 years of not advertising, and I took over a new practice, and I haven't advertised. The best way to put yourself in that position is to figure out how to be influential enough to create doctor authority.
Yep.
Know when to say no, and
Yeah.
you'll get referrals from your existing patients because they trust you like they've never seen any chiropractor act like this before. My patients tell me, you act like no chiropractor that we've ever met before. Like you are like it's your way or the highway. You're very staunch about it. And you also will lay out why every time.
Yeah. I'm going to give a shout out real quick to one of our CATS Consultants members, they have an associate doctor who's pretty fresh out of school. And I want to give a little shout out to her because she was telling me the other day when we were on a phone call that she had a new patient come in. She was having cervicothoracic pain. She'd had a little fall. She'd been a couple other places and it was getting worse. She does a very thorough exam. She does tuning fork over C7, Hertz. She does x-rays, clay shoveler's fracture. She's 6 weeks in practice.
Right.
But she didn't let her desire to have a patient to adjust override her good diagnostic abilities and taking good care of the patient. Didn't go into care. The patient went to an orthopedist for further evaluation and maybe care. But that's the kind of patient that is going to refer a ton of people back to that brand new doctor. So she's already building right out of the gate. She's building that doctor authority. She's creating that sense in the community that she knows what she's doing and that she's a real doctor.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'll tell you what, we need more of that, not less of that.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna step on some toes here. When we don't do proper exams and we just say lay down on the table and then call me when you need me, you're not a real doctor. Sorry. You're a chiropractic technician at that point. In the patient's eyes. I'm not saying you're not a real doctor because I know you are. I know you are. I went to school with you. I met you out on the street. You're a real doctor with real skills. You're just not using them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, sometimes that gets you in a bad situation with the patient in the legal system. Sometimes it just gets you in a bad situation because you're not looked at with any respect whatsoever. I still remember there was a doc in a small town in Kansas, and my cousin used to go to him. And this guy he was a marshmallow. He didn't do exams. He'd just lay you down on the table. He was old-time chiropractic. People liked him because he didn't cost much. You just walk in there. You could even get him, as my cousin said, to forego his lunch hour to adjust him, not because my cousin was busy all morning, but because he wanted to get adjusted at 12:30 because it was convenient for him.
Sure.
So this guy would bend over backwards and my cousin would go see him like twice a year. And I was like, oh, how disgusting is that? And if he knew that's what really happened, would it have stopped him? Is my question. Would it have stopped him from doing that?
So I think we need to do a podcast. I got a great topic. You just made me think of this on the PRN mindset.
Oh, yeah.
Because you just brought that up. Being part of a good doctor is giving patients recommendations. And in my mind, when you tell a patient, come back when you need me, you're telling the patient one of two things. Either I just quit you, or you don't have a spine for a little while. Come back when it returns.
Yeah, we should talk about that. PRN mindset is, you and I both, we've had so many discussions about that. It's somebody you've heard us. If we sound like a broken record, guess what? We're going to continue to sound like a broken record. We want you to be, as I said earlier, what did I say?
Be a gangster.
Be a gangster.
And that's what we're,
my new thing.
I love it. And at CATS Consultants, that's what we're doing for our clients is we're helping them be gangster chiropractors.
That's right.
No, truly, we're helping them build their doctor authority, their community engagement, most of all, their profitability in their practice. So if you're having trouble with profitability for whatever reason, give us a call, go to our website, jump on one of our calendars. Let's talk about your practice. We do that for free. And I know sometimes it sounds like we really get on our soapbox about something or we're really hard-headed about something. We're very passionate about chiropractic. Right. And we believe that every chiropractor not only has the ability, but also the skill to be not only a great doctor, but a very profitable doctor as well. And you
Uber
deserve
successful.
that.
Uber successful. It's not just money. When we say that you're profitable, I'm talking about you're profiting in your personal life, your family, your practice, your spiritual life, all the above. We care about all of it, not just one facet.
And you said it earlier, it's really all about your legacy.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the KC CHIROpulse Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, share this with everybody. If you have some ideas for a podcast, send them to us. Email it to Troy at catsconsultants.com. go check out our website, catsconsultants.com. We got all kinds of free downloads on there. Most of all, we appreciate you tuning in every single week. We'll see you next time.
See you later.